and welcome to the Nintendo Switch Online Game Club, the show where we play through the games available on Nintendo's various NSO apps completely at random. I'm your host, Derrick, and in this episode, I'm joined by the Game Apologist, YouTuber, critic, and absolute Sonic fan. How you doing, Nick?
I'm pretty good. Derrick, I think I'm good.
I'm glad to hear it. We're about to find out, I think. And LaughingBoyLP, YouTuber, streamer, and podcaster. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm hilariously confused. That is the feeling I'm feeling.
I think that's quite appropriate because, as you're both likely aware, there are now over 200 games across the NSO, and while some are widely known like Super Mario Bros. And Zelda, there are some odd picks that could be hidden gems. We honestly don't know. So what we do is enter all those games into a randomizer, pick one, and then give our initial thoughts. And this week, the Wheel of Games has chosen Amazing Hebereke. What is our knowledge of Amazing Hebereke? Andrew, let's start with you.
Yeah.
I think I can speak for all of us when I can say that I don't know. I know Euphoria the Saga, and in the 5 seconds that it took me to look up what this game was, I know that it's part of that franchise. And what's funny is that looking this up in YouTube search pulls up the trailer for Euphoria 2 the Saga, the sequel that Sunsoft is. So this was all planned. They wanted us to play Sugoi Hebereke to get us pumped and primed and ready for Euphoria the Saga 2. Sunsoft's back, baby.
I guess so. What about you, Nick? What is your history with, or what is your knowledge of Hebereke?
Well, when you first spin a wheel, and then I went from there. And I immediately started playing it, and I gotta tell you, I love this. This is incredible. I don't have any history with it, but I like colorful things. And we'll get into it. I've just played a couple of rounds, and I got thoughts.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that you've already you saw this and you immediately booted up so you could give it a try. When typically we wait a whole week for that. you were ready. You saw this and you were ready to get in there.
Well, to be fair, like it's been a little while since I've actually booted up the NSO in general. So it was actually the first game when I said like, "Hey, you have new games to play." This was the very first one available.
Oh,
and I would have clicked on it anyway. And I'm very glad I did.
Just imagining him like if we got Sonic 2 and he's still playing Amazing Hebereke.
Yeah, he's just like, screw the hedgehog. I got this weird thing.
I'm done apologizing for him.
I mean, to be fair, all right, just to peddle my own channel, I did say the original Genesis games don't need apologizing for because they're nearly perfect video games. But like, I'm used to them. I'm used to them. I've played them to death. I get it. I'm way more excited to discover something, especially like from a system as beloved as the SNES. To discover that there's still games on there I've never played before. I mean, that's part of the point of the show, right? To like find something new.
That was sort of the inspiration. Is I just kept seeing all these games like, what the heck is this? And I just decided, you know what? Let's actually play them. And I get most excited for these games that I've never touched before, never heard of before. What kind of weirdness are we in for? And as we discovered, because like both of you, I have no history with this thing. Apparently, this NSO release is the first time it was ever released in the States. Just never came across the pond before. And as we discovered, it's an arena fighter like Super Smash Brothers. I don't know if it's like, is it platform in the same way? Or is it top-down, sort of like Sonic?
It's a top-down, yeah.
It's top-down. I'd say more Power Stone.
Did you say Sonic Battle?
Oh my God, I didn't, but now you mentioned it.
Well, it's Super Nintendo. It's Game Boy Advance. I figure it's about the same idea. So, okay. So it's an arena fighter, not platform fighter. Got it.
Yeah.
Too bad PlayStation All-Stars isn't part of NSO.
Yeah.
You look at Smash Brothers Ultimate, it kind of is.
I mean, what's kind of interesting about this is that this game came out in the same like package that Wrecking Crew 98 came in, so like another game that we didn't get.
All right.
And I think that was part of the Satellaview lineup. So like, or maybe it wasn't. I can't fully remember, but this was what I liked about NSO, because when we had Virtual Console, we did get when Virtual Console first started way back in the Wii era, we got a lot of games that we all knew and loved because that was going to pull us to the system or the platform. But we also got a couple of weird ones that like we probably would never have had a chance to play. And while I kind of understand some Nintendo fans' frustrations at Nintendo not pushing a game, like it took them forever to push Earthbound to the platform, or it took them a while to like figure out other games that everyone really seems to want. Like, who heard of Jelly Boy before NSO? Like I had no clue about that game, but like this reminds me of emulation back in the 90s, where the morality of which I won't get into, but like thanks to that, a lot of kids my age got into games we would have never been able to play before. And a lot of those games are like cult classics nowadays, kind of thanks to that. And so NSO as a potential platform to provide a way for people to play games they would have never played before or had access to is fantastic. So it's like, this could be a really good use case of NSO if we're just playing Sugoi Hebereke and you're just like, oh, this game's good. Like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought to do this unless I was pulled into like a YouTube conversation about video games.
I am an absolute proponent of NSO being ostensibly better than Virtual Console because, yeah, I only had limited money. I'm going to play the classics that I know or the ones that I missed out on that everybody talks about. There was a few times I would go off the beaten path, mainly with games that I just never heard of before, but everybody said was great, like Gunstar Heroes. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I can try out these games, like Amazing Hebereke, and see if it's a new fun classic or just encounter it is great. I think the only way that NSO could be made better is if you had the option that after you played, you could buy. So you can actually have it. I think that'd be a great model to just add a buy option along with it. So if you ever drop the service, you can still play these games and own these games. I think that would be a nice compromise for people who prefer Virtual Console.
I have a sorry, I just
go for it.
I'm very much of the opinion that NSO needs more critique behind it. I like it, the distribution in terms of like it gives it time to pay attention to something, but I'm absolutely against the way they drip feed things. I think there needs to be a more consistent schedule. I do not like that. I don't like how long the service has been on, and it's still just a handful of games. And I know that's a little bit selfish, but that's my only pushback with there. But I agree with you in terms of like giving some time for the spotlight for something like this, because like. It's always exciting when they said, hey, you got something new to play, and they present it to you like a gift or something like that. That's really cool. Just I would like to know when that's happening. Like that's it. And then what Derrick said, the only other thing is I don't think we should have a choice between Virtual Console or NSO. I kind of feel like it should be both. But that's my only pushback on it. Otherwise, like, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think it is overall a great service for good value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with the Switch's successor before I fully like commit to an opinion on purchasing versus like, because it kind of sucks to a degree that we don't have ownership, but we've lived through the Virtual Console era of we bought all of our games for the Wii U and then we had to, or the Wii, and then we had to buy it again at a discount, but we still had to like pay for an upgrade fee to then buy it again. So it's like, are we going to continue to be willing to buy and buy and buy and buy it again? Whereas with NSO, if we see the Switch successor, is NSO just going to like be there? How long is it going to take for it to be there? What's going to be there at the start? And will it be the same that we already have? And if, depending on the answers to those questions for me, that's when I'll probably make my final decision of like, this is great or this sucks. Because like, there is a general like feeling of not having ownership of those games, and at any point NSO could take it away, just like we see with Netflix and like HBO Max and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but if we like go into Switch 2 and all of these NSO apps are available within the first like month or so, and maybe even that's like reaching for the stars a little bit. Considering,
I think it makes sense. I think Nintendo has this NSO concept, and I think if the backwards compatibility is already there, built into the Switch successor, to have it ready to go.
yeah,
Here's 250 plus games people can try if they haven't already.
Because I felt like that was them trying to answer that question of, well, we don't want to have to keep like reiterating in order to get it to work on a new console. So what if it was just a service that you could just go in and the games are available when you get the new system and you don't have to like rebuy. But I also believe, and a lot of third parties are doing this anyway, like some games that you see on NSO, especially on the Genesis side of NSO, you're going to see them try to release that in some either compilation or some other method of being able to buy the game.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not always Nintendo that's doing that. In fact, it's almost never Nintendo that's doing that, actually.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
at least the third parties are trying because they like money.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do think the Nintendo fan base is a little bit too forgiving to the way Nintendo handles their business. Because, like, for an example, years and years and years ago, I bought Toy Story 2 for the PS3 or the Vita, something like that, or whatever the case was.
Yeah,
just had it on there, and I figured when the PS4 came out, like that was that. Then they started rolling out their version of Game Pass or whatever PlayStation calls it, and I do think the pricing's a bit ridiculous. You know, got plenty of my own problems with Sony, but one thing I will give them credit for, what I didn't realize when I got my stuff hooked up, is Toy Story 2 was just there. It was up-res a little bit because it's part of their program. It's part of their subscription service. But since I purchased it all those years ago, they just said, here, it's available to you again for free because you bought it all those years ago. And I thought that was really, really cool of them. I think Nintendo has more than enough means. I'm going to be bold here. They probably even have like the information from the Wii days and the Wii U days to be like, hey, if you've been carrying your Nintendo information this whole time, we're going to throw you a bone for the next system because you've been a loyal customer. Right. I personally feel like double, triple, quadruple dipping. I
learned
about a new game, learned about a new word. Today's great.
That being said, we should probably focus. I mean, I think it's obvious that we don't know what to say about
we're talking
Amazing
about
Hebereke,
NSO.
considering we're not talking about the game at all. But
yeah,
literally the only information I have is that it's an arena fighter with two modes, story and versus. And if you had a Super Nintendo multi-tap, you actually could play 4 players. This is a 4-player arena fighter on the Super Nintendo. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I was noticing that while I was playing it, yeah.
It makes me really want to like go back and look into the history of this style of gameplay, because I think as kids we started noticing it when Smash Brothers came out, because we had never seen a fighter where there was no health bar. So, and maybe that popularized the genre, but I wonder how many games like this existed and we just didn't know about it.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I was dumbfounded. I had no idea there was just a classic style arena fighter, because like you see like Gang Beasts and all that kind of stuff nowadays. Like it's coming back, and I'm wondering if that's why this game is showing up on the NSO now. Somebody in the chat said that there is a Switch game of this series out right now. Like I've not done any research yet, but
I think that's the Euphoria 2. It was scheduled for this year. I don't know if it's out yet. But so this game, as I think I mentioned this before at the start, but like Sugoi Hebereke is a sort of spin-off title of the Euphoria games. And we did get Euphoria 1 all the way back when. And in fact, that was one of the, like, please get this before the Wii shop closes down.
Gotcha.
Type of games, because it was so hard to get. But Euphoria, this definitely seems like a Sunsoft is trying to come back and take all of their previous like IP, and whether you call it milking or whatever, like they're trying to bring them back in order to improve recognition of their
sure
IP. So
I'm not seeing modern releases. Maybe there was mobile phone ports, because just looking at what Wikipedia has at the bottom here for the Hebereke series, we got the Euphoria game, then we got Papoon, which is a puzzle game, Hashire Hebereke, which is a racing game, Papoito, which is another puzzle game, and then for Ochan no Okake
Logic.
Yeah, which is another.
Oh, it's just Picross.
Oh, is it just? Oh, it is Picross. Well, they can
At least
pop
it looked
that
like
up on here.
Picross.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Picross at first, but yeah, it's Picross. So, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, really.
This
Hashire
series is all over the
is
place,
also
but
one.
it has that, as we said, the Hello Kitty flair to it. Just looking at the characters.
Yeah, at first I was like, is this a Sanrio spinoff? But no, it's part of this Euphoria.
Also, nudity warning, folks. So, if you
does this game get spicy?
When you guys play it, look at the map. There is a naked woman, and I think they put detail on her. I could be mistaken.
I mean, I guess we need a
look.
Nintendo
I played
Mature
Kirby's
section now.
Dreamland. I'll be okay. Being a naked lady.
Oh goodness. What do we have any other thoughts on Amazing Hebereke before we break the plate for the next week?
Do you want like the initial, like, I played it for 5 minutes sort of thoughts, or
we'll save those, like, because I like to go as blind as possible. Just give like where we're starting from.
Sure.
I think I'm looking forward to trying to see if I can get some people together to try to do like this, because it looks like it's a full 4-player game. Mm-hmm. I would like to see if I have 3 other friends
that are willing to do this.
They're willing to try this. So yeah, it uses multi-tap, so it definitely is a 4-player game.
Yeah,
so.
It is 4 players, so that's pretty cool.
I'm very interested. This will be fun.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely excited. I was ready to talk about something I played to death already, but this is brand new. This is brand new. Like, when we started recording, didn't know what the heck this thing was. Mm-hmm. And just initial thoughts, like when I saw that cover, I'm like, I can vibe with that. That looks fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like colorful, fun things. So I'm genuinely really excited to kind of pick this game apart and really learn about it. I want us to be experts next week. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
I like it. Let's do it. We'll do it.
All the techniques we've learned.
yeah, exactly.
Favorite characters, all that.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. So yeah, we'll break to play this Amazing Hebereke for the next week, and we'll be back for all of you real soon. Till then, everyone. And we're back after a week of playing Amazing Hebereke for the Super Nintendo. It's an arena fighter, as we thought, but, well, what do we actually think about it? Game Apologist, let's start with you. What'd you think of Amazing Hebereke?
So, last week when we decided what we were playing, I just popped onto my Switch and played it for 5 minutes to get a feel of it. I think I got the entire feel of the game in that 5 minutes. It's very pleasant for what it is, but you kind of get the basic gist of things immediately, especially, I don't know, like what, 25, almost 30 years removed from it. We've played, more elaborate arena fighters than this. I thought it was very colorful. I thought it was incredibly charming. It's definitely better with other people, but ultimately, I felt this is not a game I'm ever probably going to go back to, but it is one that did open up a new interesting world to me, because I was not aware of Euphoria at all. So I'm excited to play other games because of this game.
I still don't know much about Euphoria, but it's interesting in that way. I'm so Laughing Boy, I'm assuming you came away the same way.
Let me count the ways. Yeah, I mean, so the thing is like I I didn't get to make the joke last time, but I was like, you guys got me at such a good time. I just finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like, I'm looking for something new to
I just
play.
did too.
I still need to get to it, but
So good.
I want to play more.
And so like the next thing to come up with like was Sugoi Hebereke, and I was like, cool. I got time, and I didn't. So I played it and finished it in the hour before the call.
That is not the first time that's happened to somebody.
But I played through the entire like single player, and
Right.
it's nice. Like I think it's just like Apologist said, it was like it's very colorful. I think it's very, very graphically nice, but I think the game also pays for it, because I don't know if you guys got to like just the 3-player battles. The game grinds to a halt.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It cannot handle everything happening on the screen.
And
This is 1994 Super Nintendo. Yeah, it was pretty, and it's like it's one of those things where they tried to add like weather effects. They tried to add like extra background layers. Like they figured out mode 7. We get it. But if they had just like taken out one of those effects, I think the game would actually start to run better. So like you do the first round in the single player mode, and it's like it's you against one other opponent, and it looks fine. It runs fine. As soon as other people start coming in, and as soon as they start figuring out how to use like all the special moves and stuff, the game just like it just chugs. And trying to do your own special moves, it's a mix of Super Smash Brothers and Street Fighter, because they're all just like little shoryu moves. Like you're just doing like quarter circle punch, and he'll like the character I picked in my playthrough was Ol-chan, the raccoon kid, one wearing like the brown or I guess like I don't know, Tanuki suit.
That cat girl thing.
I think it's girl, but like I'm just gonna use gender neutral at this point. So like I picked that character, and it has like a half circle move that barely worked half the time because it slowed down so much.
Oh no.
So like I think it's really enjoyable. I think I would go back to this. In fact, I might try to. I'm going to be seeing some friends over the weekend, and there's a part of me that's kind of like, you don't check this out. But this game came out in April officially, but it's a really nice, fun little game. I have a feeling there's a reason why this didn't come out in the States. And I think a part of that reason is I don't see like any Super NES games back then ranged from like $60 to $90, depending on the game. Mm-hmm. I still remember paying like $75 for Super Mario RPG, for example. And that was like brand new out of KB Toys. But like, I can't imagine the justification of buying Sugoi Hebereke for like $60-$70 for a cartridge. It's very shallow and a little bit fun, but considering that the game chugs so much, when you start getting like more than 2 players, it's like, wow. And you need a multi-tap.
Yeah.
By the way.
It is extremely novel that you can do 4 players in this, but
yeah,
it really does come down to the game feels shallow. Now, granted, I didn't realize that there were moves. Like on occasion, I picked a little fox guy with a heart on the back of his head as my character. It might be the one you're talking about. I'm not sure. And on occasion, he would do an ice attack that would freeze enemies. I'm like, oh,
that is the character I have.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Just in the top left, I'm like, that seems like the most appealing looking character to me, because I think that's the other reason that didn't come out in the States, is that these character designs are very Japanese.
You would have had to have known, if this had come out in the States by itself, you would have had to have known about a European Japan only released game, and that's it. Or, not. And just you bought it at Blockbuster or something.
Something like that. But I mean, yeah, all I did was I played through the story mode. Let's go with that. I don't know what's going on. It increases more.
Yeah.
And all the arenas are essentially the same, and they keep popping down items and all these other things. But outside of like getting a little flame that causes a fire attack around your area, or the heart that would heal your health a little bit, I didn't notice anything really happening with any of them. They just sort of seem to be there to just have more stuff on the screen. And it just all came across as just look at the jingly keys type of thing. It's just like, look at the jingly keys, look at the characters do these things. Hey, there's 3 other people here that you're fighting. It's, you got to get 3 wins in order to go through. So it could go pretty long if you're not doing too well. And then it's over. And I'm like, okay, what else do you got? So I turned it on and I chose the next option. Turns out that's
I think the tournament mode.
Single games. I don't know if I'll tournament modes. I didn't find a tournament mode, to be honest, because I found where it's like you're by yourself and you get to do 1 round. Here's the same thing except with 2 players. Here's one with 3 players. Here's one with 4 players, and so forth. I'm like, oh, okay, well so there's multiplayer. And then I checked the other ones, and it just seemed to be a bunch of random options. So I'm like, I just stopped there. Like, oh, okay, that's all it has. And then I was done. I was like, okay, yeah. I just felt no need to go back through his other characters.
I mean, there's a way to change the difficulty in the option setting. It's like the very last line in the options underneath like every single controller port's controls. But like, this is a game where if they were going to put it on NSO, it needed something in order to like help us awful, horrible, dirty foreigners figure out how to play. Because even like going online, there's nothing. I found a strategy wiki that helped me figure out how to do even the moves that I was doing. And that's it. And there was a part of me that's like, is there more to this character? Is there more things that I can do that I just don't know about? And then the very last round of the arcade mode is like you and 3 copies of you, and they all just did the same move, and I beat them all just with like spamming kick, and that's it. And it wasn't because I couldn't it wasn't because I didn't want a combo. I just couldn't because the game slowed down too much. But that one kick does a lot of damage, and that got me through the entire rest of the way.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, Nick, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know if we're going to be able to get much out of this. I found ways to talk about other stuff before, but we kind of described it. I mean, is there anything else that sort of stood out to you?
I think you fell asleep.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, no.
That ain't good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun little multiplayer game that you can play. And I think, again, this is definitely something where if you go to like, a video game tournament at a convention, like this might pop up as one of those games that like nobody knows about, and you all have to figure out how to play it in order to compete in this little tournament. Like, I could see that being the appeal now, but yeah, back then, like you had to be a fan of this IP that Sunsoft owned and a fan of very, very small arena fighters. I mean, Smash Brothers is a pretty small arena fighter, but I feel like we could talk about it for hours because we have so much like history behind it. Like there's so many things that you can talk about with Smash Brothers, even though it's almost just as shallow. But this is, a franchise I don't really know anything about. It's a franchise we never really got. And I think to me, it's like Sunsoft is trying to make some kind of comeback here, which is part of the reason why I think it's even on NSO in the first place, because they want to do Euphoria 2, and that's a whole new game that they're making. I think Euphoria is somehow coming out on Switch. Arrow the Acrobat is coming out too, but it's like a super quick and dirty port, but it's just Sunsoft trying to do something. I guess it's like, I don't know if it's a thing where somebody bought the IP and the name of Sunsoft and is like kind of carrying on in their stead in a THQ Nordic kind of way, or if Sunsoft is really trying to make some kind of comeback. But this didn't really do anything for me.
Even though this game doesn't have a lot going on with it, after just a little bit of digging, there's a lot of history surrounding it. Apparently this series, I mean, I've not played the original Euphoria. I watched a few videos on it. It looks incredible. And surprisingly, they didn't really go back to like this platforming Metroidvania style that they kind of kicked off with. They just did these weird spin-off games. This arena platform fighter is the only type in this franchise like this. The rest of it's like puzzle games and stuff like that. But I don't know. Like I can appreciate what this thing is trying to do, and I am trying to look at it from the 1994 era of video games and stuff like that. You need a lot to get what you want out of this game. Like you'll need a multi-tap, like Laughing Boy said. And I mean, it's 94, like the new systems were starting to pop up. Like, yeah, even if you had everything you needed, like to get the full effect out of this game, you're going to get a lot of lag, a lot of slowdown. But I don't know, like there were some other things I was like kind of appreciating while I was going through like the single player stuff. Did you guys notice at all? Because we all played that little cat girl. Did you guys notice in that final clone fight that you mentioned earlier? Like for me, like the green one just try to keep hiding from everybody. Did that happen to you guys too?
So
like interesting little AI quirks like that.
I noticed that in that round and the one before it, the AI just kind of stopped. And you would just have like one or two characters that would just kind of hang around and wouldn't do anything unless you like engage them. So yeah, the first round of my clone fight, player, what is it? I think it's 2 is the green one.
Yeah.
They won because they did nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But there were times where like there would be 2 computer characters right in front of each other, staring at each other, and just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
You totally reminded me, and I just played it like an hour ago. Forgot about that.
It's a weird thing where the game's both memorable and unmemorable, where like the characters stick out, some of the gameplay quirks stick out, but I don't think this will really stand out to me in any major way after a few weeks. I think it'll just be kind of gone, just because again, it's a fine, simple game. It's not bad in the slightest. I don't think it's just
it's not bad. It's what you see is what you get.
There.
It's very surface level. Yeah.
WYSIWYG, yeah. I mean, go ahead. I've talked way enough.
Yeah, again, I think this is more of I appreciate it for what it did. It hobbled so Gang Beast could awkwardly flop around, And on that sense, like I do appreciate it, and I do think it's an interesting piece of gaming history. And if nothing else, like the art direction is that Kirby Superstars, like that chibi, like that charming, like glossy candy coated thing that SNES did so well back in the day.
Yeah,
and I think that looks good. If it did come back though, I would hope it'd be like a multiplayer mode for like Euphoria 2 or something like that.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I could see it existing again. Yeah,
I saw in our live audience that apparently Euphoria 2 is already out on the eShop. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, that's just what I mean. Like that's the only place I could see them justifying bringing this particular game back, because it's crazy that this game is on here when you look at like the rest of the franchise.
Yeah,
and the original game isn't on NSO for some reason. And that looks way better than this one.
Maybe we'll get it someday. Maybe it's possible. I don't know.
I suppose, yeah.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look up more about Euphoria because I honestly know nothing about it. It sounds interesting, but I got nothing otherwise. It's just so weird how they decided that we're going to do an arena fighter and a bunch of puzzle games rather than a sequel to the original game we did. But apparently those puzzle games did really well that they just kept making them.
Yeah.
From my understanding, this is just Sunsoft kind of relying more on the character designs more than the actual game, which is a little bit of a shame, just because it sounds like, again, this is the only game I played from this franchise. It sounds like they're at least competent. Like all the games have been competent. Like if you get a puzzle game down and it's good, you just make 1,000 of them, as we've seen hundreds of times already.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird that like they made a game that, as far as I can tell, was very well regarded. A Metroidvania on the NES with a map. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and this one
and Euphoria, I think both 1 and 2. I'm trying to like find like where it all is, but from what I can tell, it's possible at least to play Euphoria 1 and 2 on the Switch, but I could be wrong.
I saw the Wikipedia and it said it was on the Switch somewhere, and I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's like bundling with the second game.
Yeah, I mean, Sunsoft has been throwing these like quote unquote Sunsoft is back directs that at least talk about it, but it's hard to know because like I'm trying to understand what it is that they're doing, because a lot of their biggest franchises or a lot of the games that we Westerners remember them for are like Blaster Master, which is already owned by another company at this rate, and Batman, which they ain't making a new Batman game anytime soon.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure. But we have we have Clock Tower to look forward to. That's coming back.
That's true. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do we have anything else that we want to say about Amazing Hebereke, or do we want to wrap it up?
It's just, I don't know. Like it's weird that, I guess the last thing that's really kind of bothering me about this is that it's the only one of this little off branch of the series, because this feels like this would have gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if a sequel with, I don't know if it was on the N64, it has all 4 controller ports ready to go. None of these character models could, I mean, they'd all do just fine in early 3D, and they could really flesh out and not have that slow down. I don't know.
It makes me think of like something like Bomberman 64. I think this style, in that is Bomberman 64 style with these characters in 4-player, as you said. Yeah, it probably could have found an audience on N64. Hard to say why they didn't do that.
I mean, it looks like they probably. It looks like Sunsoft basically started putting Hebereke games on the PlayStation. My only assumption about that is that it was probably just cheaper. So like
probably
this could have easily been too like a 32-bit game that they could have just ported over from the SNES over to the PlayStation and just added some additional features. It's a lot easier. It was a lot easier to get a multi-tap for the PlayStation than it was for Super NES in the West. I'll tell you that for free.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's just weird. Like I appreciate like this is like an early arena fighter, but like as it is with what they have available, and they do have gimmicks in every level. We didn't really talk about it. I do appreciate that they tried, but it just really added the slowdown. But there's a fine line between, oh man, this feels like Smash Brothers versus, oh, this just feels like I bought Mario Party and I can only play one mini game, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, somebody in chat just found it. It was it's Hebereke Enjoy Edition. It's basically like an enhanced port of the NES version or the original Famicom version. So I believe all the character designs are unchanged, because Euphoria, the European version, had a lot of character design changes to make it like Western friendly, I guess.
I guess.
So, yeah, if you want to call it that, but. Yeah. I mean, in my head, I was like, I'm more interested in talking about Sunsoft as a company in 2023 than I was about like, all right, I played this game in an hour and I think I got everything I needed. I feel a little sad that I didn't get a chance to do the multiplayer, but I think like this is something where it feels interesting enough that I could probably like, if I had friends over that were like gamers, then I could be like, here, let's play this for like a minute and see what you guys think.
Yeah, I like I said, it probably is better with friends, but I don't see it sticking around as long. I don't think this is one of those favorites like, yeah, let's pop in Amazing Hebereke and play that for a few hours or whatever.
Yeah. It'll be like It'll be like Nintendo Switch Sports.
Oh no.
Just the one sport, the one that everyone skips.
Well, with that statement, I think that's a good time to say we've wrapped up. We pretty much said everything we wanted to say about Amazing Hebereke, but what's our final verdict? Would you recommend it as an N yeso, or tell people to stay away with an N oh no? Laughing Boy, let's start with you.
God, that if I had to pick between one of the two, I'd probably say an N oh no. Just like, I mean, look, it's free 99. Like it won't hurt you to play it, but I wouldn't recommend it as the next game you play.
Yeah. What about you, Nick?
Man, like that. Yeah, that's a complicated one. Just for the sake of a little bit of a different discourse, my takeaway from the game was it opened up with a little bit of digging, the rest of Euphoria to me, which I am now wanting to play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a pleasant. It looks pleasant. It's cute. It's not going to eat up a lot of your time. Let's just give it an yeso with some very heavy caveats on there.
That's fair. That's the tricky thing about this show, because you're paying for the service. It's on there. Why wouldn't you at least try it out? That's the thing. It doesn't hurt anything to try it out. So that's why I try to go for a bit more critical. But I would only recommend this as an N yeso if you have a group of people to play with. If you have other people with you that are curious about trying something out, give it a play. You're not going to put too much time into it, but I think you will be able to have some amount of fun. It's just the ridiculous characters, the ridiculous scenarios, maybe the actual battle for getting the complete victory. There's charm there, but after that initial play, like you play that one time, there's no reason to go back to it. It does not have anything to really pull me back in beyond that first playtime. So
you'll spend more time. Yeah, you'll spend more time watching this video than you will play the game.
I'll change my answer to NSO.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I love it. But what about all of you at home? Have you played Amazing Hebereke before, or was this your first time? And before we go, where can everyone find you at? Nick, plug away.
Well, my channel's called Game Apologist, and as Soniku in the chat has pointed out, I think that's the class. I've not done a Game Apologist episode in a very long time, so thank you for the chance, Derrick. But my channel's Game Apologist, but I have focused a lot on Sonic, huge Sonic fan, and that's just where the views are, because those people love talking Sonic, and I love talking Sonic. So if you love Sonic, come join us. We talk about the comics, the games, and character analysis and all that stuff. And I am starting a second channel about Ninja Turtles, if you guys care. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Ninja Turtles always fun.
Hell yeah.
What about you, Laughing Boy? Where can we find you at?
You can find me in a lot of places. Most notably, you can find me on youtube.com/LaughingBoyLP. I also do the podcasty thingy. I do a once a month podcast where I bring a bunch of other content creators on, kind of like this. Actually, we don't talk about specific games, but we'll talk about anything involving like the games industry, or even like the content creator like profession, since a lot of us kind of have a shared experience there. I'm trying to revamp the channel a little bit in order to talk more about like actual games, essay wise. That's something that I've kind of avoided for a long time, but I think I finally bought a teleprompter, so the time is right. So I'll be talking about video games on that channel. You can also find me on Twitch. I stream games 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just not tonight because I'm here.
Yeah, that's fine. And
which I'm happy to be here, by the way. I'm happy to be.
I mean,
that's not what I meant.
Behind the curtain, I gotta go stream after this, so I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you both for joining me. Definitely check both of them out. And if all of you joining us enjoyed the episode, let us know in the comments, and please consider supporting us at patreon.com/gvgaming, which includes our live audience tier that will allow you to watch Game Club live as it's being recorded. But now it's time for the Wheel of Games to choose next week's title, as I'm joined by my special guests, Caro and Digimanda. Are you both ready to see what game we're playing?
Third time's the charm. Let's go. Give me that good game.
If I get another Sega Genesis game, I swear to God.
It's just rigged in that favor. But yeah, let's bring up the wheel, give it a spin. And this week, we are going to be playing... Columns for the Sega Genesis.
Yes! I love columns! Let's go!
I was already cracking up because I could just see on the wheel that it was in the Genesis category. I was like, oh, there you go, Amanda.
Oh, man.
Well, there you have it. We'll see you next time as we cover columns for the Genesis. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.